So I've been playing games since before I could even read, and one thing that I've learned from this is that playing games within moderation can be beneficial for you. Now, I could spend the next hour going into the various different studies detailing the benefits gained from regular gaming. Like this study from neurobiologists at the University of California stating that playing games improves memory and hand-eye coordination. Or this study from psychologists at the University of Montreal that said playing games helps to reduce cognitive decline, which could help prevent diseases like Alzheimer's. But instead, I wanted to focus on the benefits of playing games that I've learned personally from playing games since I was a kid. Before I do that, I should probably clear up a misconception. No, playing games will not turn your children into violent sociopaths. In fact, a study from Oxford University concluded that there is absolutely no evidence to support a link between violence in video games and violence in real life. Now, I'm not oblivious to the fact that excessive gaming can cause damage in other ways. Some people can become addicted and neglect other, more important aspects of their lives, which will lead to significant problems if left unchanged. This is why I stress that games should be played in moderation. Too much of any good thing is bad. Though games began as simple computer programs made to replicate real-world games, they have evolved into something far larger. A social platform where you can compete and collaborate with friends and strangers from all over the world, and a medium for stories to be told in immersive and explorable worlds. While I wouldn't exactly say games are split directly into these two categories, as many combine the two elements, a large majority of games focus on just one. Over the last year, the vast majority of people around the world have been spending most of their time at home. To say that all this isolation has had a negative impact on people's well-being would be an understatement. It's through this that I learnt the value of games as a social platform. From home, I could talk to my friends while we took down alien creatures in the imaginative sci-fi world of Destiny 2. Later, we could work together to compete against other players in the strategic shooter Rainbow Six Siege. All these moments have made not just the pandemic, but growing up a much better experience. Now, onto the main thing I wanted to talk about, and the reason I made this video. The experiences that I've had through games as a storytelling medium. Since the dawn of time, humans have told stories as a way of expressing thoughts and feelings to each other. Over time, the method of telling stories has developed from telling stories around a fire to seeing stories come to life through film. Games are the natural evolution in storytelling, capable of transporting you into worlds where you yourself can interact with the story. Though they were limited in how cinematic the story could be by the technology of the time, modern consoles allow developers to create believable characters that you find yourself caring for, like you would in a film with talented actors. One of the games that really demonstrated this to audiences was The Last of Us, which came out back in 2013. Though visuals have significantly improved since then, as seen by its sequel, the first game was a breakthrough for cinematic storytelling in games. The game follows our protagonist Joel through a post-apocalyptic world where a pandemic has caused humans to turn into violent and disturbing creatures. Within the opening, we witness the death of his young daughter, which sets the stage for this dark and harrowing tale about good and evil.
Sarah! Baby! Don't do this to me, baby. Don't do this to me, baby. Come on. No. No. No, no, no. Please. 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 Please don't. Please.
Many years after this, Joel has learned to survive in this cruel world and has experienced many things along the way. He is tasked with the job of transporting a young girl to a facility far away as it's discovered she is immune from the virus and may be humanity's only hope for finding a cure. In this journey, they have to defend themselves against both the infected and the humans, with many questions on the morality of their actions being raised along the way. Now, you may be wondering, why can't the story just be told through film or TV? Why does it need to be played? I'd argue the interactivity contributes to the experience. It's you, the player, who has to defend the girl. You feel that suspense of having to sneak past enemies. You yourself have to kill in order to accomplish your goals, making you question whether or not what you're doing is right. It's the fact that you experience everything, along with the characters, that make those cinematic scenes like this that much more impactful.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel, but I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
You're right. You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad.
Games can be used in a range of different ways to tell stories. One common method is decision making. A prime example of this is the horror game Until Dawn, where you play as 8 different characters throughout the story. Different outcomes happen depending on the choices you make. Character relationships are affected by the dialogue you choose, and anywhere from 0 to all 8 of the characters may die depending on what decisions you make. This makes the game a vastly different experience for each person, and the game could be played many times to see how the outcome might change if you had chosen differently. Another storytelling technique used in games is environmental storytelling. This is the art of designing the world in such a way that it tells a story to the player. Through exploring these rich worlds, the player can piece together its history. The example I've chosen for this is BioShock from 2007, a game visionary director Guillermo del Toro referred to as a masterpiece in environmental storytelling.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose rapture. A city where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, rapture can become your city as well.
BioShock takes place in the fictional city of Rapture, an underwater utopia created by a man named Andrew Ryan. He runs Rapture using the philosophy of objectivism, created by Russian writer Ayn Rand. Objectivism is, to put it simply, the belief that everyone should look out for their own self-interest and not sacrifice themselves for others. Andrew Ryan believed if everyone was to follow this ideology, his city would flourish. Through exploring the world, we witness the hypocrisy of Andrew Ryan and how objectivism, like many other ideologies, can be destructive when taken to extremes. In our introduction to Rapture, we see a banner stating, "No gods or kings, only man," underneath a giant golden statue of a man who clearly sees himself as above the average person. We see the city in chaos as it is slowly being destroyed by the citizens who were addicted to drugs that corrupted them. The drugs Andrew Ryan refused to restrict because of his belief in unregulated markets.
There has been tremendous pressure to regulate this plasmid business. There have been side effects, blindness, insanity, death. But what use is our ideology if it is not tested? The market does not respond like an infant, shrieking at the first sign of displeasure. The market is patient, and we must be too.
This experience of learning a story through exploring the world is something that can only be done through games. All of these experiences can only be had through games. Now I haven't even begun to scratch the surface of all the experiences I've had, all the imaginative worlds I've explored, and all the fun moments I've had with my friends. But I hope I've helped show just a little bit of what games can be. Until next time, you can call me a smile.